Millions of years ago, the earth was raw, untamed, and unforgiving. The land stretched endlessly beneath the blazing sun, cracked and scorched, dotted with jagged rocks and thorny shrubs. Twisted trees clawed at the sky, their roots clinging desperately to dry soil. Rivers ran shallow and unpredictable, their waters murky and teeming with unseen dangers. Smoke from distant volcanic activity curled into the sky, painting it in shades of red and orange. The wind carried the scent of distant rains, and something else. Something metallic, something alive. Small bands of early humans, lean, wiry, and weathered, moved cautiously across this perilous landscape. Their skin was darkened by the sun, their muscles hardened by survival. They bore the scars of past encounters with predators far less forgiving than themselves. These were not warriors. They were survivors, hunters, gatherers, nomads of necessity. Every step was a negotiation with death. Every meal, a triumph snatched from the jaws of scarcity. On this morning, the air was unusually still. The birds had gone silent. Even the insects seemed to pause. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. The tribe moved silently, eyes scanning the horizon. Spears, sharpened to deadly precision, were clutched in calloused hands. The soft patter of bare feet against sun-baked earth was the only sound accompanying their cautious march. They were heading toward the river, a place of both life and danger. Water meant survival, but it also meant predators. Then it came. A scent. Not the familiar coppery smell of the earth after rain, not the sweet decay of a carcass left too long in the sun. No, this was something alien, something ancient, something terrifyingly alive. A shadow fell across the sand, long, unnatural, stretching far beyond what any creature should cast. Massive paws pressed into the earth, leaving prints that seemed too large for reality. Muscles rippled under taut, ember-colored fur. Limbs moved with predatory grace. And the eyes, those eyes, glowed with a hunger older than the humans themselves. They were not just eyes of a beast. They were eyes of a hunter, a strategist, a creature forged by a world that respected only the strongest. It looked like a dog, but it towered like a nightmare. The humans froze. Their senses screamed warnings they could not yet name. Spears were raised, hearts pounded. For the first time, man faced not just the wild, but a predator capable of ending their fragile existence with a single strike. The tribe scattered. Some ran toward the rocky outcrops to the west, hoping the uneven terrain might slow the monster. Others dashed toward the river, imagining that water might provide a fleeting barrier. Every footstep, every breath could be their last. Dust rose in clouds beneath pounding feet. The wind carried shouts of alarm, the sharp cries of fear mixing with the booming growls of the predator. But the dog did not chase blindly. It hunted, silently, strategically. Huro, the largest of the tribe, did not run immediately. He paused. His eyes scanned the ground, measuring the distance between himself and the beast. His mind raced, calculating speed, patterns, any flaw in the creature's movement. But there was none. The hybrid moved with terrifying precision, anticipating every evasive action with uncanny awareness. It was not just a beast, it was a test. The human's flight led them to the edge of a cliff, where jagged rocks dropped sharply into a dry riverbed below. A few dared to leap, praying the fall would slow the beast or dissuade it from following. But the dog navigated the terrain with effortless agility. It leapt, its massive frame folding and stretching, landing with the grace of a panther and the force of a battering ram. Each impact shook the ground. Each movement was a declaration. I am not chasing. I am claiming. Huro lunged, spear poised. He aimed for the creature's side, anywhere that might slow it down. The spear grazed fur, drawing a thin line of blood. But the dog did not flinch. Its eyes, fixed on him, glimmered with something almost human. a calculating intelligence, a curiosity about the struggle of its prey. It was as if the predator were savoring the dance of fear and courage. The tribe's younger members screamed. Mothers gathered children, shielding them with trembling arms. There was no time to teach, no time to reason. Survival was no longer a choice. It was a demand. Brutal. Immediate. Every sense was heightened. Every instinct sharpened to a fine edge. Hunger, fear, and desperation blended into a singular drive to live. The dog paused, momentarily distracted by a movement in the tall grass. In that brief pause, Hero saw a glimmer of opportunity. He gestured frantically to the others, signaling a coordinated attack, a desperate gamble. Spears were thrown. Some struck. Some missed. The dog howled, a sound that echoed across the plains like a storm breaking. And yet, it advanced, undeterred. As the sun climbed higher, sweat poured down the humans' faces. Their muscles screamed with exhaustion. But stopping was not an option. Every second brought the threat closer. Every shadow, a potential end. Hero felt a sharp sting in his arm. A scratch, perhaps, from a swipe of the beast's paw. Pain shot through him, but adrenaline carried him forward. The giant dog's strategy became clear. It was not attacking blindly. It was testing them, hurting them, separating the weak. And in that moment, man understood. This was not just a predator. This was evolution, staring them in the face, and it would not blink. Night descended, but the threat remained. The sun had fled behind the horizon, leaving the plains bathed in deep blue and flickering orange. Campfires crackled weakly, their light barely pushing back the darkness. Shadows danced across jagged rocks and thorny shrubs, twisting into shapes that mimicked movement. But the tribe knew. Some of those shadows were real. The giant hybrid dog had not retreated. It had simply adapted. Its massive frame moved through the tall grass like smoke, silent, fluid, deliberate. It did not roar. It did not charge. It hunted with patience, guided by scent, shadow, and sound. Every breath of wind carried the memory of fear. Every rustle in the grass could be death. The humans huddled close to the fire, their eyes wide, their bodies tense. Spears lay within reach, but no one dared move too quickly. The air vibrated with low growls, distant but unmistakable. The crunch of massive jaws against dry earth echoed like thunder. The predator was near, watching, calculating. Hero crouched beside the fire, his face lit by the flames. Sweat glistened on his brow, mixing with dust and blood. His arm throbbed from the earlier scratch, but he ignored it. Pain was irrelevant. Only survival mattered now. He scanned the darkness, searching for patterns. The beast wasn't just circling. It was testing them, hurting them. It had learned their rhythms, their weaknesses. It was no longer a wild animal. It was a strategist. One of the younger hunters had wandered too far from the fire, drawn by the illusion of safety in the shadows. The scream was short, sharp, then silence. The tribe froze. Hero stood slowly, his spear in hand. "No more mistakes," he whispered. "We fight together. We survive together." The others nodded. Fear etched into their faces. Mothers clutched children tighter. Elders whispered prayers to stars that offered no protection. The fire was stoked higher, casting a wider glow, but the light only revealed how little safety they truly had. From the edge of the camp, two glowing eyes appeared. The dog stepped forward, its massive paws pressing into the earth with deliberate weight. Its fur shimmered like embers, its breath visible in the cold night air. It did not charge. It simply stared. Hero raised his spear. "Now," he said. Spears flew. The air filled with the sound of whistling wood and primal cries. Some struck the beast, grazing its flank. Others missed, embedding into the ground. The dog flinched but did not retreat. It howled, a deep, resonant sound that shook the bones of every listener. Then it moved, not toward the fire, not toward the spears, but around, flanking, herding. The tribe scrambled to reposition. They formed a loose circle, backs to each other, eyes scanning every direction. The fire cast long shadows, making it impossible to tell where the predator would strike next. It came from above. Leaping from a rock ledge, the dog landed in the center of the circle, scattering humans like leaves in a storm. Dust exploded into the air. Cries rang out. Spears clashed against fur and bone. Hero lunged, aiming for the creature's throat. The spear struck, but the beast twisted, avoiding a fatal blow. It retaliated with a swipe of its paw, sending Hero crashing into the dirt. The tribe rallied. They attacked not with strength, but with coordination. One distracted, another struck. A third retrieved fallen weapons. The dog growled, frustrated by their unity. It had expected panic, chaos. Instead, it found resistance. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Blood stained the ground, some human, some beast. The fire flickered lower. The air grew thick with smoke and sweat. But the tribe held. Then, without warning, the dog retreated. It backed away slowly, eyes still locked on Hero. It did not run. It did not limp. It simply vanished into the tall grass, its silhouette swallowed by the night. Silence returned. The humans collapsed near the fire, breathing heavily. Some wept. Others stared blankly into the flames. Hero sat upright, his body bruised, his spirit burning. They had survived. But survival had come at a cost. 3 were missing. 1 was wounded beyond healing. The fire crackled, indifferent to their pain. The stars above blinked silently. Hero stood. This was not just a predator, he said, voice hoarse. This was evolution, staring us in the face. The tribe listened. Raw strength was not enough. Fear was not enough. Only unity, strategy, and willpower could defy the wild. The chaos of the night had faded into silence. Smoke curled upward from dying campfires. The air was thick with dust, blood, and memory. The ground bore the scars of battle, deep claw marks, shattered spears, and footprints that told stories of desperation and defiance. The giant hybrid dog was gone. Its retreat had not been a surrender. It had been a choice, a message. The beast had tested them, hunted them, studied them, and now it had vanished into the horizon, leaving only its shadow behind. Hero stood at the edge of the camp, his body bruised, his spirit burning. He looked out across the plains, eyes scanning the distance for any sign of movement. But there was none. Only the wind, only the silence. Behind him, the tribe gathered. They were fewer now. The night had taken its toll. 3 had fallen. 1 lay wounded, his breath shallow. The rest bore cuts, bruises, and the weight of survival. But in their eyes, something had changed. Fear had not vanished, but it had evolved. They had faced terror. They had felt the raw hunger of a predator that towered above them, and they had lived to see another day. Hero turned to the tribe. He raised his voice, not in command, but in remembrance. "We did not win," he said. "We endured." The others nodded. No one cheered. No one celebrated. Survival was not a victory. It was a lesson. They began to move. The dead were buried with care, their names whispered into the wind. Spears were repaired. Fires were rekindled. Children were fed. Life resumed, not as it had been, but as it must now be. The hybrid dog had left more than wounds. It had left wisdom. The tribe began to change. They built new defenses, walls of stone and thorn. They trained together, learning to move as one. They studied the land, the wind, the patterns of predators. They no longer wandered blindly. They adapted. And in that adaptation, something ancient stirred. The spark of evolution. It was not in their muscles, not in their weapons. It was in their minds, in their unity, in their will to rise beyond instinct. Weeks passed. The tribe grew stronger, faster, smarter. They hunted in silence. They tracked with precision. They no longer feared the shadows. They understood them. But the memory of the hybrid dog remained. It haunted their dreams. It shaped their stories. Around the fire, elders spoke of the beast, not as a monster, but as a teacher, a force of nature that had revealed the truth of survival. Hero sat beside the fire one evening, his gaze distant. A child asked, "Will it come back?" Hero smiled, but his eyes held no certainty. "Maybe," he said, "but if it does, we will be ready." The child nodded, gripping a small spear with both hands. That night, the stars burned brighter. The tribe slept, not in fear, but in preparation. And somewhere, beyond the hills, the hybrid dog watched. It had not vanished. It had evolved too. It had seen something in the humans, something worth respecting, worth fearing. The age of man had begun, not with conquest, but with survival. And in every heartbeat, in every cautious step, the spark of evolution flickered. A reminder that survival is not the end, it is the beginning.